When you think of India's legendary IITs, you probably think of a couple of things: incredible academics and government funding. I mean, they're public universities, right? But if you think they're just running on your tax money and student fees, well, you're missing a huge part of the picture. It's not even close.
I mean, really think about it for a second. These are world-class institutions with some of the best faculty on the planet, but their tuition is just a tiny fraction of what you'd pay at a similar school abroad. So what's the secret sauce? Where is all that money really coming from to keep the lights on and the labs running?
Well, the secret isn't some boring line item budget. The truth is, the IITs operate less like a college and more like a massive, well-oiled corporation with a ton of different ways to make money. And we're going to break down exactly how they do it.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to break down their financial engine by looking at three core pillars. First, the public foundation, then the knowledge economy, and finally, the ecosystem engine. And that's going to reveal the real IIT money model. First up, let's look beyond the obvious. We're going to unpack the 10, yes, 10 distinct revenue streams that power these amazing institutes.
You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around all these different streams is to think of them in three big chunks, three core pillars. It makes it all make sense.
Okay, so what are these pillars? First, you've got the public foundation. That's the traditional funding you already know about. Then there's the knowledge economy, which is all about turning brainpower into cash. And finally, we have the ecosystem engine, which monetizes the entire IIT brand and environment. Let's kick things off with that first one, the foundation. All right, pillar number one, the public foundation. This is probably what you already think of when you think about how IITs are funded. This is the bedrock of the entire system, and it's made up of the two most familiar sources of income.
So, no surprise here, the biggest slice of the pie is government funding. These grants from the Ministry of Education cover all the big stuff: paying the professors, putting up new buildings, core research, keeping the lights on. This is the stable base that everything else is built on top of.
And this is huge because it directly impacts the students. It's because of this massive government support that the tuition fees are so low, making a world-class education accessible to so many people. So if you look at it this way, it really puts things in perspective, right? On one hand, you have government funding, that's the bedrock, the foundation. And on the other, you've got student fees from tuition and hostels. And while, yeah, they're necessary, they actually make up a surprisingly small piece of the overall financial puzzle. Okay, now let's move on to pillar number two. And folks, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where the real money is made. Welcome to the knowledge economy, where IITs turn their incredible intellectual capital into cold, hard cash. So a huge chunk of their cash comes from sponsored research. And listen, we're not talking about small little academic grants here. We are talking about major contracts from organizations like India's defense and space programs, science ministries, and even global players like the World Bank. They all pay the IITs for their expertise, their labs, and their research. I mean, the scale here is just mind-boggling. Just one big research project can be worth over 10 crore rupees. That's well over $1 million for a single project. This isn't pocket change. It's a core part of their business model. And all of this feeds into something you could call an innovation flywheel. It's a pretty brilliant system. Think about it. Big companies, your Tatas, Googles, Microsofts, they pay the IITs for expert consulting or for help solving really complex problems. This teamwork leads to awesome new inventions. And what happens next? The IITs patent them, license the tech back to other companies, and boom, royalties start rolling in. It's this incredible self-powering cycle. All right, that brings us to our third and final pillar, the ecosystem engine. This is all about cashing in on the powerful brand, the influential network, and the actual campus infrastructure that makes an IIT an IIT. A perfect example of this? Alumni donations. You've got graduates who are now titans of industry in Silicon Valley or leading huge global companies, and they give back. And I mean, they give back in a big way. These massive donations can fund entire research centers or new buildings. The network itself becomes an incredible source of financial strength. And then you've got this incredible tech park model, which places like IIT Madras have absolutely perfected. Basically, they create space for startups right on campus, and they collect rent and fees from them. This then attracts the big fish, the major corporations, who set up their own R&D labs there. And suddenly you have this powerhouse of innovation that's also a serious moneymaker. But wait, there's more. This ecosystem doesn't stop there. They have online courses and executive training for thousands of professionals. They host huge conferences and earn money from sponsorships. And get this, even when a professor does some consulting on the side, the institute gets a cut of that fee. They've thought of everything.
Okay, so we've looked at all the different parts. Let's step back and put all the pieces together to see the full picture, the real IIT money model.
So here it is, the big takeaway. When you lay out all 10 of those money-making streams under our 3 pillars, it all just clicks, doesn't it? The public foundation gives them stability. The knowledge economy acts as a massive growth engine, and the ecosystem engine leverages the brand and network for even more opportunities.
So when you boil it all down, the most powerful idea here is this. The real money, the cash that fuels these incredible places, it's not coming from student tuition. It's coming from a sophisticated mix of cutting-edge research, massive industry partnerships, and of course, that solid government support. And that just leaves us with one final, fascinating question to chew on. As the IITs get better and better at this whole business model, at being self-sufficient, what does that mean for the future of public education? Not just in India, but maybe everywhere. Is this the new playbook for success?